Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to attempt to recreate the makeup look that I did for my brother's wedding. I have all my products here. I have already applied my favorite moisturizer, which is currently the Olay Age Defying Advanced with Hyaluronic Acid Hydrating Moisturizer with Sunscreen Broad SPF 15. It looks just like this. It's got a little squeezy tube. I have been loving this lately. It feels really nice on the skin, so I've got that on and it sinks in really quickly. Now I'm going to go in with the primers that I used. I used two different primers. The first one was the NYX Angel Veil. I tried to put just a little bit on, like this much. I warmed it up, and then I really just focused it in these areas right here. I wanted to get as smooth of a base as possible, and I wanted to fill in these lines. So I know I started like that. And then I took my Skin to Navy the Makeup Primer Spray, and just sprayed that all over. Alright, what I did after I primed is I actually took my Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder with a fluffy eye brush. And I just used any fluffy brush will probably do. I'm going to use my e.l.f. crease brush. Make sure there's no product on it. And then I used it almost like a mattifying / line filling in powder. So I took a teeny tiny amount of my translucent powder. And what I did with this is I tried to fill in my fine lines around my mouth. So like I did this for a few minutes. And that's all I did for a few minutes, like a minute straight. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. So all I'm doing is I'm taking that powder and I'm really working in to my smile lines or my fine line around my mouth, because I wanted to try to stop my foundation from settling into those. Okay, now next what I did is I mixed my foundations that I was going to use. And I mixed, well, let me dig it out here, my Dermacol 208, excuse me, makeup cover with my all-time favorite L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte in 101. I'm going to mix these on my palette first. I use this one because it's got a lot of good coverage, but you only need a small amount. So I just put a little bit of that on my palette, not a lot. In fact, I probably put more than I'll use. Then I mix it with a little bit of L'Oreal foundation. And then I'm just going to mix them together with my finger right here. The Dermacol is very thick and the L'Oreal is a little bit creamier. And the L'Oreal looks much more skin-like. The Dermacol, that just amps up the coverage. And it gives it a little bit of that dewy effect. And the L'Oreal is much more matte. So I basically mixed those. And then I'm just going to take whatever's on my finger and just kind of dot it around my face. I'm just trying to get whatever's off. Then I took my sponge and I started blending. And I really took my time with this part. Now this wedding was in October. And it was a cold, rainy day, so the makeup lasted really well. Yeah, I just kind of started blending all over my face, but I really took my time because I didn't want to accidentally apply too much. Because with the Dermacol or any foundation, when you apply too much, it looks really, really cakey. And I didn't want to do that, and the more you put on, the thicker the layer, the easier it settles into all those lines. So I really want to work on that coverage, but just building it in very thin layers to be really conscious of not overusing or using too much product, I think is the best way to describe that. I really wish my lights were a little toned down so you could just see a little bit better, but that's okay. And I'm just dipping in the sponge, just taking a tiny amount, really blending into the hairline, and just kind of blending it all over. concealer I used was my Tarte Shape Tape. And I love this concealer because it's so full coverage and it's really brightening and you only need a little bit. And I use the shade Just Called Fair. And then I take it on my chin, this area, nose, up here, down the nose, and then of course all over the eyes. And then I also just continue to use my sponge. I'm just going to use the warmth of my finger to really blend it into that inner cavern of the eye. I just have one spot that can be really stubborn. And then I go up and down the nose. What I love about the Tarte Shape Tape is it's very neutral. It doesn't look too yellow or too pink. It has very high coverage. It just conceals beautifully. And when blended really well, it doesn't crease that much. Now I went in right away with my NYX HD powder to set my eyes and my T-zone area, and mine is broken. And I just used a teeny tiny amount. Then I barely tap it and make sure to get it right up to that lash line, just because I have a fine line there. So everything tends to settle just a little bit. And then I really went very slowly to make sure I got into the fine lines on my forehead. Around my nose area. And then for the rest of my face, I just took a little bit of my MAC Studio Fix Pressed Powder. I had this in the shade NW15. And just lightly, with an e.l.f. complexion brush, kind of just swirled and dusted it lightly across the face. Because of the L'Oreal foundation, it is matte, so it doesn't need a lot of setting. I just wanted it to look really smooth. So, the base is done. Now, I'm going to go with a little bit of bronzer. I just used my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in Light Bronze. Yes. And I just went very lightly because I wanted to be able to build it if I needed to, but didn't want to put on too much product. And then I just kind of started like this and just lightly bronzed it up. And I always take it down my neck. I'm doing this much faster than I did it that day. I really took my time that day because I really wanted it to be as perfect and flawless looking and long lasting as it could have possibly been. I mean, I wasn't the bride, but I love my makeup. Oops. Alright, then I went in for contour, and I really only have one thing that I contour with. It's my Sleek Face Form Kit. And I always use my e.l.f. small stipple brush to contour. And I just ever so lightly contour my cheekbones. I should really slow down because I went so slow that day. Because I really wanted it to look flawless. Because I'd never done my makeup for a special event and I wanted it to look good in photographs. But my excuse was if it didn't look good, who cares? No one's looking at me. I'm not the bride. Alright, now I'm going to put on my blush. And since it was a fall wedding, the colors were kind of burgundy, wine-ish. So I chose to use, I had a couple options. I could have used my Hourglass Blush, Ambient Lighting Blush in Mood Exposure, which is this beautiful plummy color. But this one I believe matched the dress more, and this is the e.l.f. blush in Jet Setter. It's a mineral pressed blush. And I believe I used it with a brush just like this. This is just the most perfect shade. It matched the dress so well. And I just lightly applied. Although I did apply more than I usually do because I wanted it to show up and not be washed out when I put the dress on. Normally I use a smaller brush for my blush, but I don't want to overdo it and look clowny. Alright, now for a highlighter. I wanted something subtle but slightly glowy, so I chose to go with my Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. And I always apply this with my e.l.f. small tapered brush, although you could also use the e.l.f. highlighting brush. Either one is totally fine. But I just used the small amount. I don't remember if I put it down my nose, but I definitely put it a little bit on my chin. And then just slightly along this area right here just to see. Because this blush is so subtle yet so beautiful. It just gives a little bit of glow. Just gonna take it on my nose for now, but not too much. Alright, now I'm gonna go with my eyebrows next. And check out my eyebrow products. And I finally got into a brow routine that I really like, so I feel very confident about my brows lately. I always take my e.l.f. little spoolie and just slightly brush them out. Then the brow powder that I use is just an eyeshadow. It's the NYX Nude Matte Shadow in Tryst. And this is so perfect. And then I use an Eco Tools angled brush just because it works really well for me. And I just slowly start by picking up a little bit of the product, tapping off the excess. And then I start by tracing the bottom of my eyebrow. And this is a smidge warmer than my brow hairs, but I really like the way that it makes them look. So I kind of start by just shaping the front. Well, that just fell apart. Fantastic. And just kind of filling it in so it looks all like one. I think eyebrows, now that I've learned how to do them, have become one of my favorite parts of doing my makeup. Because I feel like if your brows are done, it just brings your whole face together, whether how much makeup or how little makeup you're wearing. And I personally prefer powders. I don't really like waxy products. I just don't think they work well because I don't have enough brow hairs for them. I've never tried a pomade. And I'm kind of picky with pencils. This is just the powder that I keep going back to. And I need to stop talking and focus. Alright, I'll come back to that in a minute if I feel like it, but for now, it looks okay. And I will say, if you're ever trying to touch up or tweeze your brows, it's best to do it after you fill them in, because then you have that shape so you can't accidentally over pluck. Which I think we've all been guilty of at one point or another. So I started with some Milani eye primer, mostly because it's the only one that I currently own. And you need the tiniest amount of this or else I don't think it works as well, so less is definitely more when it comes to this product. So I just warm it up on my fingers and then I pat it all over my entire lid. Alright, and now we get into the second most stressful part. For me, the most stressful part of the makeup was the foundation. The second most stressful part was the eyes. And I think I used 3 different eye palettes. And I used my favorite eye palettes. I used a combination of my Too Faced Stardust by Vegas Nay, my Too Faced Natural Matte, and last but not least, oh there it is, it's over here, my Lorac Pro. So here's how I started off. This will not be the exact steps just because I simply don't remember them because I went back and forth so much between the three, but here's how I most likely did it. I just started with a big old brush and I took the Lorac shadow in white. You could also, I just use white because I'm so pale and I like it just as an all over shade to kind of set that primer. So I'm just going to apply that all over very sloppily because when it comes to setting eyeshadow primer, you don't really have to be careful with using a light shade. So once that is set, I'm going to go in with a couple of different shades. I just go in with the taupey crease shade, or something warm. If I wanted to start warm, I can go with the Too Faced Stardust. It's a soft warm brown. Whoops. Sorry about that. If I want to go cooler, you could either go with the Too Faced Natural Matte and Nudie, or Cashmere Bunny is great, or the Lorac Pro. That was loud. And using taupe. I'm going to start with taupe from the Lorac Pro. And this eye look is fairly natural. I mean, it's definitely, you can definitely tell what it is. That's a bad way to explain it. It uses natural colors for the most part. You know, I don't really throw anything colorful or maroony in just because I do that with the lips and the eyes. So I'm just going to start by buffing this taupe with this. And this is my e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush. It's great for really quickly blending out an all over crease color just for transitioning purposes. Alright, that's on. I'm going to go in with Mauve and Sable on a smaller e.l.f. brush. This is the e.l.f. blending brush. It is made for eyeshadow. So I'm going to take Mauve. Whoops. Mauve is right here. I'm terrible at this. Mauve. There we go. And Sable. And I'm just going to start lightly building the definition and the depth in my outer crease of my eye. And the only reason I threw Mauve in here is because the dress has the burgundy color, so I thought it'd be nice to soften it up and just mesh it together. You could just use a dark brown if you wanted to. Because my goal with this was to, you know, make it wedding appropriate and glam, but still natural and mesh well and not be too over the top. Sounds so easy, right? I'm just going to do the same thing on the other eye. So this wedding was in October 6th, Friday, and I'm currently filming this on November 19th. Yeah. So it was about a month and a half ago. I've been wanting to film this for forever. I just haven't got around to it. I'm going to pull out my other, whoops, mirror. I dropped something on the floor. I will always drop things on the floor. Oh, speaking of that, I was just watching Emily Noel's 10 years on YouTube, decade on YouTube, Get Ready With Me. And she said, after 10 years, I will still always, still not stop dropping things on the floor, something along those lines. And I was like, yes, yes, I feel you. Because it's so true. It's so easy to drop, especially when you have such a small desk space. Because I don't film in a makeup room. I just film in our office and I bring my makeup in here. Okay, I'm going to deepen it up by going into my matte palette right here and taking a more defined brush. Oh, darn it. Where is it? There it is. My e.l.f. crease brush, the same one I use that translucent powder, and mixing Sexpresso and Risque from the Too Faced Natural Matte. I'm going to be very careful with this, because if I accidentally go too overboard, it's going to get real messy real quick. And my mom loves this look. She wanted me to do it on my sister. She wants me to do it for the next wedding. I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. I'm like, I don't know if I can pull that off. I mean, I do this kind of look on myself all the time, but I'm like, on somebody else's eyes, whew, scary. I mean, I love doing makeup, and I'd love to go to beauty school, but right now that's not happening. Now, the creases are good. We're going to go into the lid and then we'll go into the lower lash line here in just a minute. I said that really fast. So for my lid, I went into my Too Faced Artist by Vegas Nay and I pulled out this e.l.f. brush. It is the e.l.f. eyeshadow C brush. And I sprayed my brush because I wanted this shade to be just a little more shimmery than normal. And I'm picking the shade Selfie. It's just a nice shimmery pink. And I patted that on my eyelid, just like this. I don't remember if I used my fingers or not, but I'm going to just for these purposes right now. And I was very fortunate that the bride let me do my own makeup. I know she let a couple other people, and if I could afford it, I would have gotten a professional airbrush done. I'm just a poor lady right now. But she did tell me I was quite talented at my makeup, which I was like, thank you. Like, I really appreciated it. It was a confidence booster for sure. So Dana, I love you if you're watching this. If not, not a big deal. So going with a little bit more of a dark shade to get this to match the other eye a little bit. There we go. Make it match over here. Okay. I'm gonna call it good. So I'm just gonna take some of that taupe from the Lorac palette and start blending it a little bit. And then I'll blend in a dark color here in just a minute. I wonder if you can see that powder fly. I mean, it's not notorious for fallout, it's there. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of that sable. I'm just trying to connect it to that upper outer corner, as you can see. Just so it doesn't look like it's too different. It looks like it goes together. I just totally blocked you. I apologize. Oh well. Okay, now I'll look in my other mirror. Gonna call it good for now. Then to line my eyes, I just used a MAC pencil liner. I used my MAC PowerPoint eye pencil in Stubborn Brown. And I'm gonna do my lashes just in a minute here. I want to do my lips because I feel bare. So I don't remember exactly what lip liner I used, so I brought a couple. But I know I used my e.l.f. Mineral Lipstick in Rich Raspberry. It was just the perfect color. But I'm going to start out by just using a mauve lip liner because I think that's what I started with, and then I might have deepened it up. I've kind of lined my lips and just barely filled them in. Now I'm going to take the lipstick I wore and just apply it on top because that's what it did. And I think I remember putting on a little bit more blush just because it kind of got lost in all the eyes and the lips. So I'm just going to apply a touch more by just dusting it on my cheeks. But that's what I love about makeup is you can always go back and add more. It's really hard to take it away, but you can always go back and easily add more. Alright, there we go. Now, I don't entirely remember the mascara combination I used, but I'm pretty sure this was it. I'm pretty sure I used my CoverGirl Supersizer on the bottom, and then my Maybelline Lash Sensational on the top, and I built it up. I like this mascara because this will give you a false lash effect if you don't want to wear false lashes, and it does not. But first I'm going to apply this to my bottom lashes. So I don't know if you can hear the giggling and the talking, but my husband is down the hallway with Kenzie, our baby girl, playing with her. And she's really picky about when she giggles, but she was giggling there for a second. She's having fun with her daddy. And I'm pretty sure they're watching the basketball game. Don't know which one, but a basketball game of some sort. My gosh, this is being weird. That one does not want to stay in place. Alright, I'm going to try not to let those touch my skin, but if it does, oh well, we can fix it with a Q-tip. Now for the top lashes. And I like, as you can see, I kind of move in fast and slow motion. Dang it, see what I did there? It does come off with Q-tips though. And I forgot to bring some, but thankfully the lady who was doing her makeup, she's like, oh yeah, borrow whatever you want. I was like, I love you, girl. Then again, she's also the woman who did makeup for my wedding. And she did such a good job. That's why Dana, my sister-in-law, chose her for hers as well. And the other reason why I love Tony so much, Tony or Tanya, that's her name is one of the two, is like she'll give you a trial run and she'll have you take pictures and everything, and then when it comes back, she'll re-talk to you, and you can also text her in between, and you can change anything, and she'll try to give you some direction, but she won't like be overbearing. I loved her. Like, cause beforehand I found pictures of what I wanted for my wedding makeup, and she did it, and I wasn't crazy about it on myself, so I changed it, and she was great about it. I was like, oh yes, this is definitely what I was looking for the second time, and she was awesome about creating it. She's like, good. I'm like, yay. Because like when I first did my wedding trial makeup with her, I thought I wanted like a corally lip and cheek, and turns out I didn't like that at all. I just wanted something more pinky, less peachy, but she was great about it. She's like, sure, we'll try this. Alright. So all the mascara I'm putting on for now. Whoa! That was scary. Alright. And I think the last thing I need to do is just set my face. I don't remember if I put highlight anywhere else, but whatever. So then I just used my Milani Make It Last setting spray. And I literally went like this, and I just sat there for a minute letting it sit, so that's what I'm going to do here. And then I just let it sit, because I wanted to really lock it in. This setting spray is like glue for your makeup, or hairspray I should say, and it feels so good on the skin. If you like this kind of video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!